It's absolutely our privilege to have all of you here, and of course, we are fortunate to have His Holiness blessing this hotel with his presence for the last few days and sharing his thoughts with us. Thank you for coming this morning, and I hand over to His Holiness. Thank you.
Now, I have nothing to say. Just to say hello. At the morning, I think you see, everybody, you see, not only physical level, but also mental level, fresh, isn't it? If anyone, you see, or say, visit a nightclub, and sleep very late, then maybe still. Otherwise, you see, usually, you see, the morning, our mind very fresh. So, and of course, the place very nice. Then, whenever I meet people, I always feel we are the same human being. What is races, what is faith, what is nationality, or these things is secondary, not important. Important is we are human beings. We are same. And then everybody wants happy days and happy months, happy years, and finally, happy life. So then, I think every professions suppose bring some meaningful life. Because I think every human activities, is a human knowledge, suppose bring some happy, meaningful life. Meaningful means not money, not power, not fame, but happy one, happy person. So then I always share according to my own experience, and also some of my friends' experience. The ultimate source of happiness is within ourselves. Any person who, let's say, no matter the complicated life, but still inside some inner peace, then that person still can be a happy person. Inner some fear, some distrust, or doubt, then materially everything that was there, very comfortable sort of building, and then surrounded by a nice friend and beautiful face, or plenty of money, or power. Inside, fear, anxious, or anger, suspicion. Jealousy. Then the person cannot be a happy person. So ultimate source of happy life is our own mental attitude. So why I always stress that? Because our sort of life, more or less, I think, materialistic life. And the very sort of the existing education itself seems oriented about material value. So person, or people, or generation who come through that kind of education, and always, you see, seek happiness from outside. Not thinking. Deep, in our minds, some kind of potential. So I always see sharing with people. So otherwise, I think you know better how to lead your life on a sophisticated world, modern life. So I should seek advice from you. And then also you see a person now over 56 years as a refugee, and our own sort of land, still a lot of problem. So I think I should ask, under that circumstances, how to keep peace of mind. I want to seek your advice. So I think the many problems which we are facing, you see, we too much emphasis on a secondary level of differences. Different nation, different races, different faith. So if we more emphasize or more awareness, we are same. 7 billion human beings, same human being. Everyone wants a happy life. Everyone have the right. Then, yes, some disagreement, some different interest, but okay, that's more minor. Important is same human being. Then hardly, there's no basis to killing each other or cheating each other. So now I think we have to make effort to promote a sense of oneness of humanity. I really feel that. So now some questions or some suggestions. Some advice also. Yes?
Thank you, Your Holiness, for this opportunity. I know that throughout your life you've been interested in technology overall. So from your own perspective, how do you believe we can use technology to build the compassion and practice bodhicitta? How can we use or rely on technology to foster that as a society?
I think technology, maybe because of the way of communication is already, our travel, communication become much easier. The technology itself, no feeling. So no experience of pleasure and suffering. So on pure technological level, I don't think the concept of right and wrong, I don't think. Right or wrong is related with feeling of happiness and suffering. Since including animal or birds do not want suffering, so we consider suffering is negative. So anything which brings more suffering, that we consider bad. Anything which brings happiness, pleasure, we consider good. So very basis of right or wrong is related with feeling. So technology, no feeling. Isn't it? You see, my watch, or when I, because of the take care, or even you see, I think some people, I think, because a beautiful sort of ring, and no feeling, the ring. Animal, or birds, or cats, if you show love, they respond. Because they have the feeling with consciousness or with mind. But the word, you see, consciousness and mind, these are quite complicated ones. We simply say, Shiva Yoda.
So we simply say that these animals, cats and dogs, also have mind.
Yeah. So technology, then, you see, whether technology become good or bad, entirely depend on the user. Technology, utilize or meaningful way, very good. Or harmful way, and very bad. Even religious faith. A religion is used for harming each other. Then religious faith also become very bad. It's a faith related with emotion. So use religious faith. Much easier to manipulate others' mind. Or sometimes religion could be hypnotize others' mind, then can utilize. So therefore, you see, the thing itself is something neutral. Everything depends on the user, human being, we human being. Other animal, not much intelligence. We have this marvelous intelligence. Sometimes I expressing one of the, I think, best gift from God, if you accept Creator, then this human intelligence. So this human intelligence is sometimes, you see, create more problem. So now this intelligence, you see, in order to become meaningful, then compassion, love is a key factor. So every religion, you see, talks practice of love. That's a key factor. Like that. So that's my view. Do you agree? Or some argument? Yes.
Your Holiness, thank you.
Oh.
You have often spoken about interfaith harmony,
Oh.
Secularism,
Oh.
etc. I come from a family which is actually a cocktail.
Kasa.
Someone dedicated.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
We have Hindus in the family, we have Muslims in the family of both denominations, Shias and Sunnis. We have Christians in the family, Protestants and Catholics, and we have Jews in the family, which is really quite a heady mix. Therefore, I'm greatly concerned at the decline of tolerance in India these days. People are getting more fundamentalist. They're less willing to appreciate other religions. They're less willing to give space to other religions. And this, I think, will ultimately damage the social fabric and perhaps even the unity of this country. I think it's a very serious problem which is on the increase. And therefore, I seek your views on this, Your Holiness, because you've often spoken on the necessity of interfaith harmony, tolerance, secularism in its non-political sense. Secularism as conceived, let's say, by Mr. Nehru, and not the kind of politicized secularism that you have today. So I seek your views on that.
Now, recent years, or I think since many years, I always see talking the religious harmony. That I learned from you, from India. When we were in Tibet, we only talk Buddhism, Buddhism, Buddhism. After we reach India as a refugee, then the personal meeting, right? Personal sort of that, meeting with many religious leaders, different religious leaders, different scholars, scholars of different tradition, like that. Then meantime, some part of the world conflict in the name of religion. I have been Northern Ireland few occasions. Then some of the Arab countries. Of course, I haven't been, only I think Jordan, then Africa, Nigeria, and some other few African states. So then, as a believer, and also, some experience through training of one's own sort of tradition, actual benefit. So therefore, then, religion, faith, you see, all faith, in spite of different philosophical view, but all have same potential to bring inner peace, because all carry message of love and tolerance and forgiveness, like that. So then, conflict in the name of religion is really terrible. Suppose religion is because of savor sort of savor humanity, more peaceful, more contented, much less sort of destructive emotion. But then religion itself become something fuel for this destructive emotion. And really terrible, very bad. So therefore, I really admire the 1,000-year-old India's tradition, religious harmony. Religious harmony also, I think, related with the concept of secular. Respect all religion and also respect non-believer. That's, I think, very wonderful, very practical, very realistic. So then, I think this country, still I feel, I think this tradition still very much alive, religious harmony. So then some pockets here and there, you see, some problems, and that always happen. And then this country, over billion population, and some mischievous people must be there. The big human family without mischievous, then there's not true human society. I think, you see, eventually, even heaven, some mischievous may be there. So that's understandable. However, you see, we have to pay some attention in order to keep alive 1,000-year-old India's tradition, religious harmony, with combined with secular because of the ethics. Then, that's I feel in education field. education, secular education, then secular ethics, very fit in education, secular education. So that, I usually use it as a telling the value of secular ethics on the basis of our common experience. We all, our life starts from our mother, including these kasoda, violent people, troublemakers, like this, someone is also today, a terrorist in the name of religion. You see, these also received maximum affection from their mother. So basic human nature, I think some scientists, now they investigate, you see, to very young children, age 2, 3 years old, very infant way. They show picture, cartoon. The cartoon, the children, one cartoon showing children play together and sort of loving kinds of attitude each other. And another cartoon, negative attitude each other. So the young, very, very young children, when they saw the cartoon play together and some more friendly attitude, children smile, happy. The negative, they show some sort of also they disagree. So that shows basic human nature is more compassionate. When we saw someone fighting, we feel a little uncomfortable. Even an animal, when we saw animal, it's very friendly, we feel happy. So that's basic human nature. And most of the mammals, that kind of nature. So use our common experience, all come from our mother, all received maximum affection, love from their parent, particularly from their mother. And then now scientists say after birth, next few weeks, the child, physical touch, mother's physical touch, is crucial factor for properly develop their brain. So immediately after birth, no language, but biologically, mother's physical touch affect the child's sort of physical and the physical cells or these things. So our life starts that way. Then our common sense, when we develop anger, suspicion, even our good meal, while you very angry, the meal also, then it is sometimes kasure, made to that way. Or because of the meal with people who really you trust and mutual loving kindness, then even poor sort of quality, poor meal, you feel very happy, full enjoy. Elaborate sort of, I think some diplomat Yorba, some diplomat, I think here. Any? So I think you have the experience. It's just some formal big dinner, lot of sort of food, but the companion a little suspicion. Then artificial smile. These people have the experience of how to smile, not come from here. In early 60s, one time, the daughter Radhakrishna, we sit together and then look some books. And then the book, you see, everybody smile like that. Then Radhakrishna, you see, the express, or everybody now trying to kasa. Mare, kasa. Kasa means tida. I mean, everybody, you see, showing their teeth. It's quite true. So I think the diplomatic smile may be that kind, not come from here. So then I think, although it's a good meal and good facility, but because it's not much sort of, because of the happy here, so then maybe you see, you watch, you look your watch. Oh, now time to go. I have some another engagement. Isn't it? So like that. So therefore, genuine sort of affection, trust. You see, genuine friend develop on trust. Trust comes respect each other, sense of concern each other. Then trust comes. Trust creates friendship. Friendship brings deep sort of satisfaction. We are social animals. We really need that. So use common experience. We all come from our mother. And common sense, as I mentioned earlier. Then scientific sort of finding. Constant fear, constant anger, actually eating our immune system. Other hand, more calm mind, very helpful to sustain our immune system. And through that way, calm mind brings healthy body. So disturbed mind is you need a lot of drugs. Some drugs expensive. Maybe. Calm mind, compassionate mind, you see your physical condition, you see, because of the will be, because of very fit, very good. So then, if more people follow that way, more healthy, not much ill, then doctor, any profession as a doctor, then doctor, many doctors will face starvation. Nobody, you see, go to hospital. Doctor become jobless, like that. So that's the scientists say, not a religious sort of quotation. Simply, scientists say that. So these we can say we can educate from kindergarten. Great. Then ancient Indian rich knowledge about human emotion. Ancient Indian psychology should not consider as a part of religion, but part of academic subject. I think it can easily include secular ethics, secular education sort of lesson. So we have to think long term. Then short term, I think religious leaders from different tradition, from time to time, come together and express sort of common sort of message like that. And then I think religious leader, I think, should be more active. Should not sort of satisfy in their own temple and carry some puja. It's not sufficient. No? Must come out and meet people, and especially students, younger generation. Explain 1,000-year-old India's tradition, all these religious harmony, these things. That I feel. And then I think religious leaders, I think, should take active role in order to in order to make this, you see, the caste system. I think some stories in some village, some remote area, you see, some area is a caste system. This is so, so serious. Even you see, low caste people, you see, cannot drink the same well. That is a big contradiction. These people, you see, believe, I think 4 caste or something, is come from the 4 face of Brahma. So same Brahma. So all, you see, different castes is come from same source. All children of God. But then, in the society, I think these, we should not consider part of Indian because of the habit or culture. We must change these things. So in order to keep the pure spiritual message or spiritual practice, some of these things sometimes is damaging about the pure, useful sort of message of tradition. So you see, these things we have to speak. And the public, I think those areas, you see, the religious leader, politicians or government officials cannot do much. I think spiritual leader should involve effectively in these things, in this field. That's my view. That's my view. Then sometimes the politicians, you see, again, I think for short-term interest, you see, utilize the name of religion. Then actually harmful. So I think the general public, and then a few mischievous, you see, will continue, you see, doing their mischievous way, but then the overall public, you see, healthy. Then few individuals, you see, cannot much sort of effect.
First of all, on behalf of the tribe of diplomats, let me say that sometimes our smile is genuine.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I want to remind you of something that Bismarck said, that if he wanted to confuse an ambassador, he told him the truth. Bismarck.
Bismarck, yes, German.
Yes. Oh. He once said if he wanted to confuse an ambassador, he told him the truth. Your Holiness, you started this morning by talking about individual happiness, happiness of the human being. I want to draw your wisdom on collective happiness. Now, some of us who are senior citizens are beginning to worry about the kind of world which our children and grandchildren will live in. And as you know, when people get older, they get a little pessimistic. Now, as I see it, the world is threatened by 2 major threats which can destroy the world. One is climate change, the other is nuclear weapons. Yes. But when I look at my region, where we are situated, we are looking at threats coming from the east and the west. On the west, there is growing fundamentalism and religious intolerance. There's a new institution called ISIL, which is establishing new records for brutality and violence and it is spreading in the Middle East. In the East, these are not non-state actors like in the West. In the East, there is a state actor which is trying to establish his hegemony through military force, and I don't have to tell you how much this is affecting lives of millions of people. So I want Your Holiness to look at the future. Maybe give us some words of cheer about what kind of world our children and grandchildren are going to live in. Thank you.
Basically, I'm optimism. Right. Optimist. The year I born, 1935, I think Sino-Japanese conflict, I think already started, or some very nearly start. Then Europe also some kind of potential sort of causes of Second World War. So then, Korean War, Vietnam War, and of course the Chinese Civil War. So now, my age now reach now 80, as you mentioned now, some kind of killing in the name of different religious faith. India, when I first came, 1956, it was a 10 Murtin survey. 10 Murtin or something, but Nehru's officials of residence. When I visit there, completely peaceful. Then gradually, when I visit Prime Minister's residence, you see, more also the check posts away. Sometimes it looks like bunga. Difficult. So it is quite sad. However, if you look from wider perspective, I think humanity is thinking, I think, much more positive development. When First World War, Second World War, you see, when the nation declared war, I think every citizen of the country proudly joined war effort. Around the Vietnam War, they are no longer there. Many Americans against Vietnam War. Similarly, Kosovo War, at this period, you see, against the violence are much more increased. Then Iraq crisis about happened. I think from Australia up to the United States, I think millions of people come out against the war. Then the Berlin Wall disappeared, not by weapon, but by popular movement. And the Philippines, the dictator, also is a popular movement too. And then also, I think Chile, also I think similar sort of event like that. So then, Soviet Union itself, around I think 1917 or like that. You see, under the leadership of Bolshevik revolution, the Soviet Union is started. Very totalitarian system. And worship gun. So the government, I think deliberately try to create some kind of mental attitude. When I first visited Soviet Union, 1979, still Soviet Union. The Russian mentality, this is something, or West is something, is their kind of the traditional enemy. So unless they prepare well, West are going to attack them. They deliberately created that kind of mental attitude. So I already visited Western world, 1973. In the West, then at that time, I think England, Germany, not French, France, some other sort of few European countries. So there, they fear. Oh, Warsaw Pact, if we sort of not prepare for defense, or they may come. I think Western sort of power, I think, I really feel, maybe I'm pro-West, maybe. You see, their sort of military forces is only for defense. The other side, offensive. So these, then one time, at that time, in Moscow, Soviet journalists, some media people, they came to see me, and they want, you see, they, because of that, describe Soviet Union, peace-loving nation. I am not convinced. So they actually forcing me, you see, that word peace-loving nation in my mouth. I refuse. Then one reporter become angry. So you see, that kind of a situation, eventually Berlin Wall disappeared, and then Soviet Union itself has changed. These are mainly popular sort of movement. I really feel great sort of regret when Yeltsin, no matter he drunken person or not, you see, that's, I think, the best period. You see, come closer. At that time, I think Western power, I think, lost good opportunity. Go there, sincerely help in the Russian economy, education field, and some other technology field. Through that way, the few decades of propaganda, due to few decades of propaganda, some kind of wrong impression about West then can change. Then I think respected Putin may not have the opportunity to manipulate. Like that. So recently, one old diplomat, she told me, later another diplomat in Europe confirmed that. I'm not very sure. President Yeltsin actually offered to NATO, they want to join NATO. And then whether formally refuse or neglect, ignore that. Really, great pity. So I often, many occasions in the West, you see, express, or NATO headquarters should shift to Moscow. Then, you see, millions of Russian mind safe. No longer NATO is there because the enemy group, like that. Isolate Russia, Nobody's interest. Recently, I met some Russian. I told them, your two hands, there's great opportunity. One hand to Europe, come closer. One hand to Asia, come closer. Geographically, see, they can do very, because of the meaningful, positive sort of, because of the work. Like that. So in any way, overall, the event in later part of 20th century, I think very positive, very encouraging. Then beginning of this 21st century, I think now basically no longer nuclear sort of threat of nuclear holocaust. Recently, you see, one Nobel Peace meeting, originally South Africa, but then they refused me. So number of Nobel laureates, you see, they show solidarity. So eventually that meeting took place in Rome. So one point, because the one point is where? One matter is about nuclear, danger of nuclear weapon. Then we discuss, you see, now I think time come, you see, fixed time, within 2 years or 3 years, world should be free nuclear weapon, not just to express, or a nuclear weapon should cause of the disappear or something. We must now fix time, like United States. They are already talking. They reduce the nuclear weapons, and then also you see talking. There are some now ideas now free because of the world free nuclear weapon. So even some government level, you see talking these things. So now public, and including Nobel laureates, now should make, should fix time. Then, so for that, there's some public demonstrations or articles or talk, I think should mobilize. Then I think can achieve nuclear weapon. That's really feel. Then after all, see, those nuclear nations who have nuclear weapon, if they use that, it's mutual destruction. So without anger, without too much prejudice, thinking properly, the nuclear weapon is mutual destruction. Unless mad person, you see, nobody, you see, now relying their future on nuclear weapon. Then environment also. Now, I think mainly the scientists, ecologists, they now, when I first came India, we are not much talking about importance of environment. Now everywhere is talking about that. And actually we now experienced, due to global warming, the big weather change. So a lot of disturbances, including Dharamsala. We are quite remote area. But nowadays, this year, you see, due to because of the weather change. Oh, even you see, March, end of March, still very cold. And then the untimed rain, some harm about farmers also. Then natural disaster, now quite often now. And United States, a lot of snow, northern part of United States, a lot of snow. So now we really experience the how serious due to global warming. So I think more awareness. I think these things. And then I think conclusion, 1996, I had the audience, the Queen Mother, late Queen Mother of England. Then I asked her, since you observed almost the whole century, her own age at that day, 96. So I asked, since you observed the whole century, almost whole century, so do you think the world become better or same or worse? Without hesitation, say better. Then reason she used, when she was young, nobody talked about human right or right of self-determination. Now these things become now universal, she told me. So then, in I think 1960, I think 50, 60, many people feel Third World War inevitable, right? That also now, because of that kind of sort of view also changed. Even though still Soviet Union there, the concept of coexistence developed. So these are, I think, the sign of maturity, right? Mature. Oh. And then, previously, science and spirituality is something two different road thing. But later part of 20th century, these two things come closer. So I think overall development, if you look from a wider perspective, there is some reason be optimistic. Maybe my optimistic wrong according to your judgment. You're more experienced person. So I think if you look, you see, I think either today now, you see, if you see some conflict take place, and I think the world quite sort of peaceful. So something happened that become big news. During First World War, Second World War, several few hundred thousand people killed. Feel normal. Even I think a nuclear weapon used on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I think many people, I think that's a victory. So I think our sort of way of thinking. So at that time, I think these immense violence is considered something normal. Now, a lot of people saying peace, peace, peace. So even those people who secretly prepare weapon, but they outwardly say peace-loving nation, peace-loving nation. So like that looks North Korea. It seems quite that young boy looks, I don't know. Yes.
Your Holiness, you're one of the wisest, or you are the wisest spiritual leader of our times.
No, don't say that. Don't
well,
say
you are.
that.
Were you born wise, or was there a point of time when you realized your wisdom? Was there a point in your journey? When did you realize your wisdom? And the second part of the question is, now that you've announced that there's not going to be another incarnation of the Dalai Lama, what happens to the incredible wisdom across the ages? Where will that rest? In a book, in scriptures? And if so, what is wisdom if it's just in a book? Because wisdom has to evolve.
You see, 7 billion human beings, I think there is great potential. Well, I think number of people from that 7 billion human being, I think really, I mean, through experience and also through knowledge. You see, basically all have same potential. Then opportunity makes, or circumstances makes differences. So I'm quite sure, you see, coming generation. And already on this world, I have the name Dalai Lama. And a little, in a way, nice person, in a way, troublemaker. So therefore, you see, more publicity. And sometimes I jokingly, you see, expressing, you see, Kasada, Kasadi, my propaganda where, my sort of Kasada, detaching is Kasada. I think propaganda sort of mission or office in Peking. Wherever I go, you see, even if you talk or give lecture on a university, the Chinese officials will come protest. So that become news. So then more and more people, you see, notice that. So my real sort of propaganda mission is Peking. It's my movement. You see, if they remain silent, then may not be much sort of publicity. So they make noise, so more publicity. Like that. I don't worry. I really, you see, Kasore, not thinking it's that way. I'm something very special. No, never. No. You see, the only sort of opportunity or publicity. Otherwise, they are wonderful people. All these knowledge, you see, I learned from others, including some scientists, some spiritual. And then perhaps I may add, you see, ancient Indian psychology. We are students of these ancient knowledge about human mind, human emotion. So, combine the modern events or scientist sort of knowledge and ancient Indian knowledge about mind, combine these things. Then, you see, and then one unique Buddhist concept, everything interdependent. So that concept, very helpful. Tiny event, always look, oh, this happened because of that, because of that, because of that. Interconnectedness, interdependency. That very helpful to get holistic picture. So that, I think, we have some sort of opportunity, some factor. Otherwise, you see, we all have the same potential. So regarding Dalai Lama Institution, as early as 1969, I publicly, officially, sort of formal statement, I mentioned the very institution of Dalai Lama, whether continue or not, up to 12 people. I'm not much concerned. So now these days, communist China, who doesn't believe rebirth, they have more serious concern about my reincarnation. So I should grateful. Nonsense, nonsense. I jokingly, you see, sometimes I jokingly express, they are non-believer about rebirth, these things. So there are political reason, you see, they are saying that. So then I jokingly, you see, expressing, first, let them choose Chabna Mohotsadung's reincarnation. Then Deng Xiaoping's reincarnation. Then they have some sort of right to show concern about Dalai Lama's reincarnation.
So I think, I really feel, you see, some of these Chinese officials, you see, they are not using their brain. You see, they carry, you see, they, once, you see, they are high official, you see, some sort of policy. Then they, without thinking, you see, their own sort of the ability to analyze, simply, you see, carry these sort of instructions. So they do not know whether it is fit or not. Time change, situation change, but they simply carry the old sort of thinking. Out of their ignorance, out of less freedom, that's a problem. I think it's a very problem. Also, you see like that. And then Dalai Lama, I think Chinese government is showing interest about Dalai Lama's reincarnation because they consider Dalai Lama is something political figure and something important. As far as that is concerned, now, 2001, we already achieved elected political leadership. Since then, my position is a semi-retired position. Now, 2011, I completely retired, no longer any political responsibility. So if they are sort of, previously they are concerned because of the political importance. Now that no longer there. But they, I think, officials do not know. Then one official, some time ago, you see, described me as a demon. Okay. If they got some kind of satisfaction, then okay. They can say that, no problem. So actually, when I first heard, first time I heard about this, that comment, I was in northern Italy. Some mayors, some northern Italy, you see, they usually carry the Tibetan flag during 10th March. So they, a group of mayor, you see, meeting. They invited me, so I was there. So some of them are Marxist. So then I told, as a socio-economic theory is concerned, I'm also Marxist. So we are comrade. So at that time, you see, one morning, some media people met with, you see, the group of mayors, and I also there. So one media people, you see, media person, you see, asked me, what is your comment? Some Chinese officials, you see, describe you as a demon. And I immediately responded, yes, I'm demon with horn. Like that. This is, you see, meaningless, nothing, just like joke. So these, you see, they do not use the common sense. And they never consider what is reality. Like that. I think for us, it is good. They carry some sort of unrealistic sort of word or unrealistic sort of action. It helpful to keep Tibetan issue, Tibetan spirit alive. Okay.
Firstly, very honored again to see you. My name is Pooja Jain, and I've met you a few times with Sushil Muni Maharaj Ji at the Defense Colony Ashram as well. I lost my father in March 2014.
You come
can you see
behind
me?
the pillar. Then I can see your face.
Can you see me now?
Okay.
Okay. So I'm very honored to be here again. I last year did the program with you in Taj, and my father came to meet you, and you embraced him with a lot of love. I have always enjoyed meeting you in various meetings, very briefly. I'm a Jain, and I believe in the Jainism philosophy. And I also believe in what you say, because my father also was a humble man who started a business from the bottom, and he became a very successful man. He believed in the art of attachment and detachment at the same time. And he always explained being attached in this world, at the same time being detached. And the philosophy of Mahavira, which you are well
Yes,
aware of.
Mahavira, yes.
And what I want to know from you is, after losing someone so important in my life, I have my mother here, and it has been a very challenging year for me personally and for her in our family. I want to know something as an advice to all of us here, that what is this one advice that you're always so happy, you're smiling always, and you have a great sense of humor?
Not always. Sometimes I lose my temper.
Okay. Well, at least I have seen you smile a lot. So I want you to give me an advice that how do you gather that smile when you have so many surroundings around you at a sudden situation? Because my father had no suffering. He just passed away very quickly and suddenly. And what is that one advice you would give as an inner peace management mantra to all of us here? And for us to be able to fight the challenges of life in the small time that we have here. I don't think there's too much time. But as my father's belief and Mahavira's belief was, it's about the self and the self-detachment in this world. So if you can comment on that, I would be very grateful. Thank you.
Now, attachment. Of course, the English word, the understanding this word very limited. I do not know. But usually I use the word, the attachment is some kind of closeness feeling with emotion. So any emotion, there's one aspect of emotion is because of the biased, such as anger, the biased view, not neutral. Attachment as well. So the emotion, kind of attachment, is very much mixed with wrong view, because biased. Biased mind cannot see the reality. Then loving kindness or love. Again, you see two levels. One, the biological factor. That very much mixed with attachment. That through training, you see certain genuine sense of concern of others' well-being and the respect. That kind of love without attachment. So there are two levels. One, love out of the biological factor, that's very much mixed with attachment. Then through training, then that kind of love is spontaneous. Animal also have. Then we, human being, this wonderful brain, use brain, long-term interest, then through training, deliberately develop genuine sense of concern of humanity, for example, on the basis of sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. That without attachment, through training. So in order to develop infinite or unlimited love, you should sort of practice detachment. Detach. Otherwise, attach because of biased. So your friend side, love. Enemy side, hatred. So it's biased. And also the biased love very much oriented about others' attitude. Or the unbiased love is not others' attitude, but themselves. So regardless whether their attitude
nice to you or not, still they are human beings. So, for example, enemy, including these terrorists, their action is very bad, but still they are human beings. So we should not sort of lose some of genuine sense of concern of their well-being. They are human beings. Clear? Some differences. So if you want more, then please study more about ancient Indian psychology.
Your Holiness, you mentioned earlier the closeness, the proximity that's growing between science and spirituality. And every day we see new inventions in which a robot or some kind of a technology replaces some function of the human body. Do you envision a day when human consciousness will surpass the need for the human body? And what would that be like?
Now, as far as robot, one time in Japan, this is some engineer, some scientist, they demonstrated the robot way. There are certain sort of human activities, you see, they carry, but still, you see, under control. So they have their own sort of mind not there. Then you see, some sort of engineer or some scientist say one day the robot can act independently with sort of some kind of cognitive experience or cognitive power. I express doubt. That's difficult. However, you see, like kasa chukti, kasa, conception. You see, sometimes you see conception take place in glass tube, isn't it? So this is something new, but it happened. So it is possible. You see, certain sort of material or certain substance eventually can take the basis of consciousness. That's possible. Different form of sort of life with consciousness. For example, this body, the billion years ago, not there. Eventually, some sort of material, eventually, you see, absorb, we call consciousness. Then it is, because of the living life, a start. And then jellyfish. Then gradually up to now, this kind of sort of body. So in future, you see, different form of life, different form of sentient being, it is always possible. But then you mentioned so the mind separate from this. That actually we also have this practice that, training that. So I will not try that. You see, when your body becomes something difficult, unusable way, then the fresh body, very, very fresh, and put there, and then through meditation, and also you see technique, you see, touch the mouth, then your sort of breathing sound with some meditation. Go like that. Then gradually that fresh, dead body get some kind of the heart beating activities. Then gradually, you see, your mind transform to that body. Transfer. So that kind of practice, not only Buddhist Tantrayana, or Hindu Tantrayana also have that kind of technique. In Tibet case, there is some, so in the past, some people, some individual, you see, the same person, but a new body. If I know that, then now 80 years old, this body, so another young body, that's I think impossible. For me, impossible. And not much necessary. So after all, you see, now scientists, especially, you see, brain specialists, now they begin to feel, beside brain cells, there are some third factors. We describe chit, or mind. So then also, you say, I asked some scientist, when conception, the mother's egg, they enter by father's sort of semen, that some kind of worm, some kind of certain cell. As soon as that takes place, is it 100% sure life start? They say no. Then the question is, what third factor? As far as material is concerned, you see, the mother's kasadimin, ovum or this, say no, I said, I mean, nothing wrong, and the sperms also perfect, and the eggs, so there, the meeting that, not 100% sure, life start. So we call consciousness of another being. Enter there, then life start. And then brain specialist, through training of mind, the plus signal.
They talk about neuroplasticity.
Actually, increase through sheer sort of training of mind. So they begin to feel, oh, mind is something, you see, something, essentially something different than brain. Then we believe mind, there are many different levels. Now, for example, this very moment, we using certain level of mind, consciousness. When we are dreaming, another more subtle level of consciousness. Then sensorial mind no longer function at the dream time. And then deep sleep, further deeper. Then we faint, further deeper consciousness. Usually we call unconscious, but we believe still deeper level of consciousness. Then at the time of death, the deepest consciousness occur. All grosser level consciousness stop. So that's why some people say after death, clinically dead, but body still remain fresh. Number of occasion, I think, almost 30, 40 cases now last over 50 years. Some cases, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, body remain fresh. Like that. So that the scientists, you see, so far no explanation. So some scientists now start research work. Such person who dead, clinically dead, but body still remain fresh. So what is the cause of that? What is the? What's the explanation? Now my friend, some scientist, now
already to start some sort of actually research work. So that work, you see, quite is difficult. So we have to wait. Someone, firstly, die, then secondly, remain fresh. So that is to say, I cannot sort of ask person, please die in order to our experiment. And then very dangerous. If the person die, then no remain that, then no use. So in Dharamsala, since I think at least 5-6 years, you see, some scientists, you see, because of the left some simple equipment. So at that time, not training or equipment not permanently remain there. So you see, someone die with that kind of experience, no equipment. When equipment is available, nobody died that way. So then gradually that equipment now permanently remain in Dharamsala. So when I received some information, someone, you see, die, still body, still remain fresh, then I immediately send a message to the hospital, to the clinic, and they send some trained person with that equipment and to communicate with some American scientist in America. So now we are doing that. So these things only shows, you see, consciousness, there are different levels. And one Mongolian practitioner, I think now more than 100 years, that dead body is still very fresh. Like that. But simply, you see, fresh body is not much use. Unless talk, not much use. Yes, next question.
Your Holiness, you've been talking a lot about teaching ancient Indian culture in schools. But you know that in India, secularism has become a very political thing. You've been saying since the teaching yesterday that we should be teaching ancient Indian wisdom in Indian schools.
Yes.
But it's become a very political subject. So they're teaching mindfulness in American schools and meditation to small children in American schools. But in India, if we introduce this, it's seen as a political thing. Do you have any solutions?
I don't think. There's a few individuals, you see, may feel there's something because of the political way, some connection with the political interest. But then I think maybe few individuals. And this also, you see, I think a lack of knowledge. What is our purpose? And this is part of Indian knowledge. Once these things is made clear, and first we ourselves should make proper sort of scheme or proper sort of, because of the plan. Then explain these things, I think possible. In America, some professors, some scientists, particularly our organization, Mind Life Institution, now last few years, has carried this sort of work. This institution now over 26 years, 26 or 27 years. So since last, I think few years, since they already carry as an experiment the secular ethics in school. Recently, in Canada, Columbia, British Columbia, even now the university in Vancouver, since our discussion some time back, so they already now last, I think, 2 years, they already implement to young children education about warm-heartedness already. So now, recent my visit there, then the state government, now the government level, state government level, you see, they also
Kasoda. They officially now decided within the state, the Columbia state, all school should teach these things. So we'll see. I think first time the state government level they formally sort of decided. So all school should learn these things. So we'll see.
That's the problem.
Nobody
is taught.
That's our own sort of faults. You see, not clearly sort of make the kasoda, make clear. For example, Kanjur and Tenjur, we call, that's all translation mainly from India, from China, about, I think, 15, 20 volumes. Otherwise, all rest of 300 volumes, all translated from India. In the past, these 300 volumes, you see, we just kept as a sort of sacred books. And of course, people, reading these and study these, but basically, put because of altar way. Then, about few years ago, I felt, now content these books, we can divide 3 parts. First, part of science, mainly science of mind, psychology. Nothing to do with religion. We can make sort of separate. Then philosophy, like quantum physics. Some Buddhist sort of philosophy, the view is very similar, quantum physics. Nobody considers quantum physics is religious matter. No. Like that. So that's philosophy. Then third part, religion. So out of 300 volumes, now we already, compiled the first section about science. So Tibetan, Tibetan, we already accomplished. And then English translation, now nearly finished. The Chinese translation as well, and the Hindi translations. Then some Mongolian translation, Russian translation, German translation, these now already carry. So that part is strictly science, not religion. So I think if you make sort of something very clear sort of picture, and without sort of intention to propagate religion, sincerely, just academic matter, and then I think possible. This moment, some people may have some doubt or suspicion. Then time passes, they will know. And politicians knows more human psychology, then their political activities can be more effective. Yes.
Your Holiness, in this world, which is one, we live and generally consider good on the basis of same values. Mm-hmm. Yet, at individual level, at a societal level, at a country level, we compromise those values all the time. And sometimes we say, for collective good, we compromise it because it's good for my country, for example. Not good for everyone, but good for my country, so I put aside the values and I make some decisions. And those decisions are often justified because of politics or self-interest of particular country. How can we overcome that acceptance that it's so okay to put aside the value, make a decision, move on? How can we improve our world by less of acceptance of this?
Oh, that is lack of realistic approach. In ancient time, okay, no problem.
just take concern about your own community, your own nation. I think in Africa or in Europe, I think several thousand, perhaps 1,000 years ago, it's a small community. They simply look after their own community. No concept of nation at that time. Then gradually, more sort of multiply that community, that number. Then you see the concept of nation. I think India, I think before independence, then each Raja, they have their own sort of thing. And then independent India, then concept of union start. Look now, European Union. Before this union constructed or should they start the combination effort from Adenauer and de Gaulle, previously arch enemy. But then new reality, then they felt now should develop the European Union. So now no longer is it considered my nation. I think mature person think about interest of European Union rather than individual nation. So through awareness, through wider perspective, now Africa is a small country fighting each other. Within the country, also fighting. It's a lack of knowledge. So that, you see, individual nation also suffer more. If they create Union of Africa, then much benefit, like European Union. And Asia also, one day, I always dreaming, one day India and China unified. And Pakistan, Bangladesh, this automatically join. No. So then, you see, no need military forces. If necessary, some sort of mobile the force, wherever some sort of mischievous people and necessary some force can send. So possible. I think we have to think. Within this century, I think the world should be something more wiser way. Something sort of today. This is realistic now. Now look, India and China, spend a lot of money for military defense. If you see the understanding, close relation, develop, then you can use a lot of money for farmers, for poor people, education, health, like that. I think the European Union started, I think much money saved. Otherwise, each small country, their own defense. Isn't it? Like that. I think the European Union, the member state, I think several centuries fighting, killing each other. Isn't it? Now that completely changed. The spirit of Europe. Now Greece, some problems. But still, you see, they prefer remain within the group. Isn't it? One time, you see, when East Germany and West Germany is unified, some my friend in Belgium, my longtime friend, you see, that person expressed to me, the little fear. Once, you see, West, East German, you see, unified. Then West Germany at that time, I think 60 millions. East Germany, 20 millions. So together, now 80 millions. So German once become powerful. So those smaller countries will fear. Now the spirit of European Union, no danger.
German economy, really helpful to all member states. So these are, I think, very wise and very realistic. So I think the rest of the world, they should think that way rather than, oh, my nation, my nation. So like that, that's my view. So all this education and use of common sense, not biased prejudice way. I, my nation. Ultimately suffer. Look now China. There's too much emphasis their own cause of the People's Republic of China. Even a small island, they feel something very important. If I have some freedom, I want to give that small island to Japan. They have very small land. China, huge. So you say, give them. Okay. So I think education also, makes differences. Former Soviet Union, as I mentioned earlier. China also. You see, so too much sort of they cultivate a nationalistic view. Now President Putin also, you see, sort of also they cultivating the greatness of Russia. These things, I think, outdated. We have to think the reality. Of course, some of these words, I don't know. Maybe better to keep within this room. I don't know. Otherwise, I may caught in Kazada. Controversial way. I don't know. Oh, yes?
I have the experience over the years that politics divides, but religion unites. But now religion is also becoming very intolerant. Cartoonists can be shot in Paris. And this sort of intolerance is spreading so widely. You're a religious leader. How do you find the last decade, let's say, of religious intolerance in the world?
I feel the late Pope, Polish Pope, sometimes I difficult to pronounce these individual names, but simply I used to say the Polish Pope, German Pope, now the Argentinian Pope, and then previously one Italian Pope like that. So the Polish Pope, a very good friend of mine. From first meeting, we immediately, you see, feel very close each other. I think because of the similar experience background. So he, convened the RCC meeting. So the Vatican, now they use the word religions, plural, not religion, religions. So these are signs of changing. So overall, I think, you see, the close understanding between different traditions, I think, grow. I think among Christians, I think some, of course, a little bit hardliner, but overall, I think now they take for granted there are different traditions, different religions. So, I think overall, I think now becoming more kasurta, more open. But then still, is some, so, as I mentioned earlier, even heaven is some mischievous people. So there, I think we have to know some mischievous people, hardliner, narrow-minded, always there. Then I think the rest of the people, you see, should have, you see, more open-minded sort of thinking. And then these minority, they may they may act differently, but will not affect the society. That's the only way.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Her Holiness. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, once more, Malik. Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Your Holiness. Happy birthday to you. That's it.
Small piece. For myself.
Yes.
Myself first. Share. More people. Oh, quite delicious. That is really blessing.